Hi everyone, welcome to Romance Stories. Before watching the video, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. That night, my body temperature soared to 40 degrees Celsius. In a daze, I tried to send a text reporting my condition and requesting sick leave. But in my delirious state, I made a catastrophic typo and sent a request for marriage leave instead. In the early hours of that morning, the cold and powerful female CEO of my company unexpectedly kicked my door down, gave me a beating, and dragged me away. When I frantically asked what she was doing, she replied with 2 words, "Husband snatching." I screamed in terror, "No, stop. Wait." I had asked for the morning off, but the real embarrassment started the night before. The person sharing this humiliation with me was my cold and authoritative CEO, Serafina. After a wild weekend out with the boys, I woke up feeling lightheaded. I checked my temperature, and, as expected, it had hit 40 degrees Celsius. There was no way I could make it into the office. Fighting through the vertigo, I managed to type a message to the HR manager, dizzy, requesting 1 day off. After hitting send, my head throbbed so violently that I immediately blacked out into a deep sleep. I didn't expect to be jolted awake in the middle of the night by a frantic pounding on my door. Thinking it was one of my friends bringing medicine, I pulled the door open, only for a woman to charge in and hug me tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. "Leo, you can't get married behind my back." I was stunned. Who had the nerve to pull this? I was already half dead from a fever. Did I really have to deal with this drama too? I pushed her away, swearing to myself that if I weren't so weak from illness, I would have jumped up and kicked her out. Once I regained some composure, I finally saw who was standing in front of me. I froze, my body trembling with shock. The woman who had just hugged me was Serafina, the newly appointed CEO of our company. She was famous for her icy personality and her level 12 obsession with cleanliness. She was also the goddess I had pursued for 3 years during university without success. Right now, her eyes were red as if she had been crying for hours. I gasped, a chill running down my spine. Had the company gone bankrupt while I was sleeping off my fever? While I was spiraling in confusion, Serafina took a step forward and gripped my shoulders. She frowned, her eyes downcast with an intensity one couldn't decipher. She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. All I could see was my own confused reflection in her eyes. Suddenly, she swung her slipper and whacked me right on the shoulder, making my head spin even more. I was speechless. Is she a superhero? Where did that strength come from? There I was, burning up with a 40 degrees Celsius fever, getting beaten by my boss in the middle of a spring night. She even lost a slipper in the process. I don't want to recount the details a second time, but long story short, I was unceremoniously tossed into a Maybach. Serafina leaned halfway into the back seat, her hands gripping my shoulders tightly, forcing me to look her straight in the eye. Her usually refined features were contorted now. Her entire body was trembling like a small, feral animal. "Leo, I absolutely forbid you from marrying someone else. If you're getting married, don't you dare think of anyone but me." She gritted her teeth, pronouncing each word so sharply it felt like she wanted to bite me. What on earth was happening? I was just lying at home. Did a wife just drop out of the sky? Back when I was pursuing her, she was never like this. I spent years chasing her, confessing my love in 99 different ways, making her tea, bringing her water, writing love letters, even spray painting confessions on walls. She rejected me every single time. So why, now that I have a fever, does she suddenly want to marry me? Is she the one who's sick, or have I hallucinated this whole thing from the heat? I was about to slap myself to wake up when something warm pressed against my lips. Good grief, I was being kissed. Forcefully. But I'm literally burning up. She pressed against me relentlessly. After God knows how long, she finally let go. Her ears were crimson as she gently stroked my cheek. Her gaze was so deep, I felt like I could drown in it. "Leo, you're just like you used to be. You blush so easily." "Lady, I'm blushing because I have a fever. Viruses don't discriminate, no matter how cold your words or how soft your heart." Serafina, the woman who always spoke with ice in her voice, turned out to have incredibly soft lips and a very weak immune system. I quietly pulled back the curtain to peek at the neighboring hospital bed where Serafina was propped up. Her right hand was pressed to her forehead, and her left was hooked up to an 4 drip. Because of the fever, she had unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of her blouse, revealing her pale collarbone. Her hair was damp with sweat, her face was flushed, and her eyes were glazed over. Right now, she was scowling at the wall, deeply contemplating the meaning of life. It turns out that because she kissed me, she caught my flu. Not long after she drove me back to my place, she started burning up too. In the end, I was the one who had to call the ambulance to bring both of us to the hospital. Now, here we are, lying side by side in the ward, getting 4 fluids for our matching fevers. I couldn't help but chuckle at her aggrieved expression. For some reason, my fever felt like it was breaking, and my head was much clearer. Just as I was feeling smug, my phone buzzed twice. It was 1:30 a.m. Who could possibly be looking for me at this hour? I unlocked my phone and saw a notification from the company group chat. The corporation had issued an emergency announcement in the dead of night. Effective immediately, all employees requesting leave must submit a formal written application. Messaging apps or verbal requests will no longer be accepted. I stared at the screen, bewildered. Just yesterday, a simple text was perfectly fine. I opened my sent messages to the HR manager to double-check what I'd written. Upon closer inspection, my heart skipped a beat. Instead of writing dizzy, requesting 1 day off, I had made a catastrophic typo. I had written, getting married, requesting 1 day off. Reading those words was like having a bucket of ice water dumped over my head. My fever instantly vanished, replaced by a chilling sensation as if I had fallen into an ice cellar. If this was the cause, then everything Serafina had just ranted about, the marriage, the wedding, suddenly made sense. She thought I was about to marry someone else, so she rushed over to snatch the groom. So that was it. I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Well, come rain or shine, I guess I'm getting a wife after all. Was the goddess I had pursued so desperately finally about to be mine? At the same time, I felt incredibly lucky I hadn't accidentally typed funeral instead of marriage. If I had, she'd probably be spending the night at a temple chanting prayers for my soul. I pulled the curtain back again to look at her. Serafina seemed to sense I was awake. She immediately whipped her head in the opposite direction, acting like a bashful maiden who didn't dare meet my eyes. Oh, so the cold CEO wants to play the shy game now? Hey, CEO Serafina, what was it you said about a wedding earlier? What did you mean? I was a bit dizzy. I didn't catch it clearly. I prodded her tentatively. Serafina kept her back, turned toward me in silence for a long time. I guess she was having a fierce internal struggle. Or maybe I thought the fever was just so high that I really did hallucinate. Sorry about that. So, Serafina, I murmured, stealing another glance at her, but she still gave no reaction. In that case, I'll be heading out first. My fever is down, and I don't want to disturb your rest. You're sick. You need sleep to get better. I'm going now. Really, I'm leaving. I made a show of standing up to pack my things. Cough. A soft cough from Serafina cut me short. I want some water. The water is right there on the table. You can grab it yourself. She lifted her hand, the one hooked up to the 4 drip, signaling that she couldn't move. I sighed. Fine. Consider this a thank you for finishing my 4 first. I picked up the cup and held it out to her. Serafina had reverted to her usual icy, distant persona. Don't tell me you want me to feed it to you. I asked sarcastically. Feed me. I don't have a spare hand. What about your left hand? I countered. She immediately hid her left hand behind her back. Honestly, if it weren't for that divinely beautiful face of hers, I really would have been tempted to give her a piece of my mind. I reluctantly fed her a few sips of water. She kept staring at me with an unreadable gaze, persistently pretending like nothing had happened. Where was the heartbroken woman from earlier? The one who looked like her world was ending if she lost me? And besides, she kissed me. Thinking back on it made my face flush red all over again. We stayed locked in a silent stalemate, neither of us willing to make the first move. The tension was rising by the second. Suddenly, the hospital room door was kicked open. An elegantly dressed woman in her 50s strode in. She stared at me for a moment, her eyes scanning me thoroughly from head to toe. So, this is my wonderful son-in-law, Leo, right? She asked with a beaming smile. But the moment she turned to Serafina, her attitude flipped completely, her voice turning stern. I heard you kissed my future son-in-law already, didn't you? Serafina sat on the bed, looking utterly aggrieved. Mom, It was your future son-in-law who kissed me first. What on earth? Since when did I kiss her? It was clearly the other way around. The story of how a simple fever turned me into the son-in-law of the Knight family is a long and convoluted one. It all started when the HR manager submitted the attendance sheet before the end of the shift. Serafina had noticed my absence and asked why I wasn't at work. The manager told her I was getting married and had requested a day off. That day, the woman known for her legendary poker face actually fumbled in front of everyone. First, she stood frozen for 10 seconds. Then she picked up a flower vase, took a sip of the water, and marched into her private bathroom. No one knows exactly what she went through in there. But word is she called her parents, telling them she was about to do something big. It was either do or die. And that's how the whole accidental groom snatching incident happened. Currently, we were sitting in the ward, facing each other in an incredibly awkward atmosphere. Now that the misunderstanding was cleared up, I figured I could make my exit. I stood up, forcing a smile. Ma'am, I think CEO Serafina's fever has subsided. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. No, the two of them shouted in near-perfect unison. Serafina shot her mother a meaningful look, and the older woman immediately let out a dramatic gasp. Oh my goodness, I forgot to turn off the stove for the chicken stew at home. I have to go check on it right now. She turned to me. Leo, dear, your fever just broke and you're still weak. Don't overexert yourself. Just stay here and rest with Serafina at the hospital. I'll go home and bring back some chicken soup for you to recover. Serafina followed her lead and slumped back onto the bed. I don't feel well. I'm hungry, thirsty, and my head is throbbing again. I sighed, wondering if this mother-daughter duo realized how terrible their acting was. Forget it. After seeing Mrs. Knight out, I sat down in the chair, crossed my legs, and stared at her. Serafina, what exactly are you playing at? I pursued you for 3 years, and you rejected me every single time. What's with this performance now? Serafina sat up in bed, reaching out as if to embrace me, but her arm was snagged by the foreline. She let it drop helplessly. When she looked up again, her eyes were rimmed with red. Leo, I'm sorry. I felt so lost, I didn't know what was happening. Before she could say another word, the ward door cracked open again. Mrs. Knight poked her head in just an inch, sneakily slid an object through the gap, and quickly pulled the door shut. I leaned down and picked it up. It was a locked diary. I looked back at Serafina, who gave me a silent, confirming nod. The diary was meant for me. The passcode was 5555, May 5th, my birthday. I opened the book. The handwriting was soft and elegant, with every page filled to the brim. Having been in love with her for 3 years, I recognized her script instantly. May 22nd, 2015 weather. Sunny today was the school go tournament. I played against a boy from my class, Leo. He ended up cheering for me in front of the whole class. I signaled him multiple times to stop shouting my name, but he didn't seem to get the hint. Leo is a bit of a fool, but it's a very cute kind of foolishness. I remember that day. Back then, I thought Serafina hated me because she kept glaring at me. Reading this diary, I realized everything was completely different. A girl's diary is both mundane and strangely captivating. I let out a helpless laugh and flipped the page. June 15th, 2015 weather. Ray and I ran into him at the library again. Even though Leo had an umbrella, he secretly hid it. Then he came up and asked if I could walk him back to the dorms. I wanted to so badly, but I couldn't. I rejected him. My grip tightened on the paper. That time at the library, I did hide my umbrella just for a chance to walk under hers. But she turned me down. I ended up running back to the dorms in the rain, feeling miserable for weeks. I flipped further. July 22nd, 2016 weather. Sunny finished the last final exam. Summer break is here. My heart feels so empty. It'll be a long time before I see Leo again. I think I'm going to miss him. Cough. Don't read the rest out loud. Serafina tried to maintain her composure, but the hand holding her water cup was trembling slightly. She lifted the cup to her lips, but didn't take a single sip. The diary was thick, each page carrying her innermost thoughts from our youth. As it turned out, she had liked me too, even earlier than I liked her. But the reason she rejected me so many times was far more serious than I ever imagined. Serafina was born with a congenital heart condition. She was afraid she couldn't give me a future, which was why she rejected me time and time again. What she didn't understand was that Back then, my future consisted of nothing but her. She was the very future I had always yearned for. Just by looking at her, I had long ago imagined everything down to the names of our two future children. Serafina had dropped out in the middle of our junior year. Everyone rumored she had gone abroad to study, but in reality, she went overseas for heart surgery. Fortunately, the operation was a success. After a year of recovery, her health had mostly returned, though she remained somewhat frail. Otherwise, she wouldn't have fallen ill just from kissing me while I had a high fever. I looked at Serafina, sleeping soundly in the hospital bed, feeling a mixture of heartache and lingering frustration. Serafina, those 3 years you owe me, how exactly do you plan to pay them back? After her successful surgery, she finished her studies abroad. Then, she turned down a lucrative job offer from a major international firm and decided to return home. In her diary, she wrote that she had to come back to find me. I never thought the classic tropes from the novels I read would actually happen to me. Watching her sleep beside me, my heart felt like a pot of swirling emotions, impossible to describe. I gently traced the line of her brow and her eyes. Since she left for abroad, I hadn't seen her once. For years had passed, and she had grown much thinner. Her face no longer held its former innocence. Instead, it was masked by a cold, distant aura. Her beautiful features had become more refined with time. She must have been so exhausted. I tugged the blanket up a bit to cover her. Perhaps the movement was too abrupt, because Serafina's beautiful eyes fluttered and slowly opened. My hand, still holding the blanket, froze in mid-air. The atmosphere turned slightly awkward. I've finished reading it. I know everything now, I said softly. You don't need to apologize, I understand. I don't blame you, because your health is the most important thing. It's the foundation of life. Without it, nothing else matters. As long as you're alive, there's always a path forward. As long as you're being treated, it's okay. I continued, I know now. I understand that you came back for me, even going as far as to join our company. I see your heart. As for the rest, let me think it over slowly, okay? I let out a sigh, laying out the thoughts in my heart. Serafina tilted her head to look at me. Her eyes held 2 parts shock, 3 parts vulnerability, and 5 parts pure agony. After a long silence, she bit her lip and whispered, Leo, you're leaning on my foretube. Oh, right, sorry. It only took me a day to recover, but I ended up having to nurse her for an entire week. Little did I know that being away for 7 days would spawn 5 different rumors about me. Or rather, about us. This morning, the second I sat down at my desk, my colleague Liam pulled me aside. Leo, you're finally back. I've got some legendary gossip for you. Want to hear it? I nodded like a chick pecking a grain. You know that new CEO, Serafina? The Ice Queen? Well, while you were gone, she vanished too. Word on the street is she went back to her hometown to crash a wedding and snatch the groom. Liam gasped, clutching his chest. I can't believe our 10 words a day CEO is that reckless. Snatching a groom for love, man, that's romantic. I wonder who the guy is that could make her do something like that. The guy at the next desk chimed in, nodding in agreement. Yeah, that guy must be incredibly lucky. Serafina is a goddess. He'd have to be exceptionally handsome to even stand a chance. At that, I immediately straightened my back and cleared my throat. True, that guy must be remarkably handsome. An hour later, while in the restroom, I overheard version 2.0. Poor Serafina. I heard the guy she was engaged to decided to marry someone else. She was gone last week probably trying to win him back. It's tragic. Even someone as elite as her gets cheated on. It's disgusting. Exactly, another voice whispered. I heard that guy is a total scumbag, playing 2 fields at once. A real 2-timer. By lunchtime, version 3.0 had arrived. Serafina has been in a long-distance relationship with her first love for 5 years. They were supposed to marry when he returned from abroad this year, but he ditched her for another woman. She flew into a rage and stormed the wedding to take him back. As my colleagues gossiped, they spoke with such passion you'd think they were actually at the crime scene. If I hadn't spent those 3 days lying in a hospital bed next to her, I probably would have believed them too. Finally, I toughed it out until the end of the shift. Just as I was packing my bag to head home, a voice called out, freezing everyone in their tracks. Leo, wait for me downstairs. I nearly lost my mind. My colleagues, however, actually did lose theirs. Serafina was standing there, dressed in a crisp white suit. Having just recovered, her face was still a bit pale. She glanced at her watch and said calmly, "In 10 minutes. If you head down now, the timing will be perfect." After saying that, she flashed a faint smile, revealing 2 cute snaggle teeth. "Remember to wait for me." I stood there frozen, hearing someone wait. Was it me? Loud as soft. Oh, the moment Serafina stepped into the elevator, the office behind me absolutely erupted. "Oh my God, Leo. You and CEO Serafina know each other." "Leo, why did she tell you to wait? What is going on? Who am I? Where am I? Is this real life?" "Leo, we haven't seen you in days. Since when did you get so close to the boss? Doesn't she have a fiancé to marry? Give us the tea." I had to shut my way through the crowd. CEO Serafina and I were university classmates. Of course we know each other. Her telling me to wait is probably just for work. After all, she's been out for a week. She likely has questions about my department. As for that groom snatching story, I know absolutely nothing about it. Having said my piece, I slip away as fast as possible, terrified that staying 1 second longer would blow my cover. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in Serafina's car. 2 buttons on her shirt were undone, revealing her sleek, elegant collarbones. She leaned over to help me fasten my seatbelt. Her long, slender fingers brushed against my hair for a fleeting second. This woman definitely has moves. At the office, she's buttoned up to the chin, but around me, she acts as if she's ready to strip them all off. Those subtle, polite touches were so refined, yet so effective they made my face burn. "Leo, you're pathetic," I told myself. "You're nearly 30, and you're still this easy to seduce." I used to think I was over her. But 3 months ago, when I saw her at the company's morning briefing, my heart skipped a beat. She was the new CEO, brilliant, powerful, and single. Just by standing there, she commanded every eye in the room. It's true what they say. If you meet someone too extraordinary in your youth, you might find yourself unable to want anyone else for the rest of your life. "Come over to my place for dinner this weekend," Serafina said, looking at me carefully. "I probably shouldn't. My mother wants to invite you over," she continued. "She said that since I had a fever and you took me to the hospital, she wants to thank you for taking care of me." "No need to thank me. It was nothing," I said, waving my hand. "My mother is getting old, and her health isn't great. She shouldn't be agitated. She doesn't have many grand wishes in life. She just wants to have a nice meal with her son-in-law." Serafina's voice turned soft and pleading, like a puppy's. "Wait, son-in-law? What's son-in-law? Don't talk nonsense." "On July 25th, 2016, she said firmly, "you confessed to me. You said you wanted to be my boyfriend and that you wanted to marry me." As Serafina finished speaking, she fell into a heavy silence. When she finally turned to look at me again, her eyes were swimming with tears. "I'm so sorry, Leo. Back then, in my heart, I told myself that you were the only one for me. But that was only if I stayed alive. I said those words to you in my head thousands, tens of thousands of times." I hurriedly reached out to cover her mouth. "What are you talking about, stayed alive or not? Don't say such nonsense." I promised to go." "Really?" Her eyes suddenly sparkled with a desperate light. "Yeah, really." The weekend arrived in the blink of an eye. Serafina was waiting downstairs for me early that morning. Before I could even settle into the passenger seat, she slammed her foot on the gas, driving as if the car doors had been welded shut to prevent any chance of me changing my mind. When we reached the Knight family villa, Serafina's mother was already at the door to greet us before we could even step inside. She was incredibly warm and acted so familiar with me, it was as if we had known each other for a lifetime, despite having met only once. Sensing my confusion, Serafina leaned in and whispered in my ear, "My mother knows my diary by heart. She knows everything about you." "What? That's incredibly embarrassing." "Well, at the time, I didn't think I'd make it out of the operating room," she said with a faint smile. "I told her that if the worst happened, she should give the diary to you. I'm just glad I lived to hand it over myself." "Wait a second," I realized. "Clearly, your mother was the one who slid it through the door at the hospital." "Actually, the diary had been in my car all along," she said, blinking with a sudden flash of mischief in her eyes. "I planned to show it to you that night after I snatched you from the wedding. It's much better this way. No kidnapping required." That evening, Serafina told me so much about her heart, her regrets, and her secret hopes. Her mother apologized to me several times as well. I understand how precious a young man's prime years are, Mrs. Knight said softly. So, if you no longer have feelings for Serafina, that's perfectly okay. We won't force you to take responsibility. If you still like her, I hope you'll give her a chance. But if not, there's no problem. You should live your own life. I bowed my head. Thank you, ma'am. Just listen to your heart, she added, gently patting my hand. On the drive back, Serafina and I sat in a heavy silence. She kept her head down, her brow furrowed with a gloom that clouded her eyes. She eventually pulled the car over in front of a milk tea shop. Do you want some milk tea? I'll get you a taro one. Okay. Yeah, sure. Then wait for me in the car. I'll go buy it. Sure, but no taro, just pearls. Got it. 5 minutes later, Serafina returned with a cup of milk tea. You used to love taro. Why don't you want it anymore? She murmured as she poked the straw into my cup. That's right, just pearls. I pulled her collar toward me and gave her a light kiss on the cheek. I only need the pearls now, because you're already sweet enough. I officially agreed to be Serafina's boyfriend. But first, we had to set some ground rules, starting with keeping a secret for now. If we didn't, everyone would think I'd seduced the CEO just 3 months after she started. The gossip would be brutal. Besides, over the last 2 months, while the office was buzzing with rumors about her, I may have said some things I now regret. Back then, I had sighed, puffed out my chest, and told my colleagues, girls like Serafina are way too frail and dainty. Even if she ran past me naked, I wouldn't even blink. I never expected the tables to turn so fast. Now, I'm incredibly cautious at the office, terrified of getting caught. After all, the company has a strict policy against workplace romance. However, Serafina seems less and less capable of restraining herself. She started loitering around my department constantly. When I told her to stop hanging around my area, she was surprisingly obedient, but instead, she started finding every possible excuse to summon me to her office. For instance, today, right after the morning meeting, I had just opened my laptop when the manager came rushing over, panting and clutching his chest. Leo, the CEO wants you in her office. Now, at the mention of Serafina's name, every male colleague in the vicinity snapped their heads toward me. I feigned composure, though my heart was doing backflips like a monkey that just found a banana on the side of the road. Still, I had to play it cool. I kept my head down, fingers clacking away on the keyboard. Sorry, manager. I'm slammed right now. Very busy. Leo, she said you need to bring her last quarter's financial report. I don't really understand that report, sorry. Leo, she said you need to go print last month's attendance sheet. Attendance is HR's job. Sorry, that's not my responsibility. Leo, she said you need to make her coffee. Milk, no sugar. Sorry, manager. I don't know how to make coffee. Leo, the air conditioning in the CEO's office is broken. She told you to go in and check it. I couldn't take it anymore. Amidst the whispering of my colleagues, I shoved my chair back and marched into Serafina's office. In the end, it cost me 10 kisses to buy a single week of her behaving herself. Under the expectant, suspicious glares of my coworkers when I finally emerged, I could only offer one lame explanation. I was just fixing the AC. It's true that I actually majored in electromechanical repair in university. But Liam pulled me aside again, his expression shrouded in secrecy. Leo, you need to keep your distance from Serafina. Why? What's up? Don't tell me you don't see it. It's obvious the CEO has a thing for you. My heart hammered against my ribs. Was it really that obvious? Leo, be careful, Liam warned. Didn't she supposedly have a fiancé she was fighting for? Now she's suddenly trying to flirt with you? Turns out her character isn't that great after all. We were all fooled by her looks, thinking she was the loyal type. Liam's tone was laced with both irony and disdain. I nodded along, trembling slightly. Right, trying to flirt with me. What a joke. Wait, you don't see it. Liam's voice jumped up an octave. I hurriedly shushed him and pushed him back into his seat. I really did just go in there to fix the AC. Look, we were classmates. She knows I have some basic mechanical skills, that's all. Is that so? You know a little, but can fix a whole industrial AC unit. Liam looked at me with deep suspicion. Yes, exactly. That's how it is. I felt a wave of unease. I'll explain more later, okay? Let's just leave it at that. For 2 months, we lived a double life, strangers in public, but secretly holding hands whenever we could. Then, the arrival of Maxwell shattered our harmonious little picture. Maxwell is the PR manager. He's not that old, stands at 1.8 meters, and has an undeniable charm. He's the type who speaks softly and acts incredibly sweet. He had been sent abroad on a 6-month assignment and had just returned. With his golden boy looks, it's no wonder the company is full of legends about him. Word is the number of girlfriends he's had exceeds the number of fingers on his hands. In fact, his dating history is long enough to fill a novel. We've frequently posted anonymously on the company forum, begging him, "Manager Maxwell, please publish a book and share your pickup secrets with us." Maxwell is actually a decent guy. He always brings back gifts from his overseas trips. He's friendly, comes from a good family, and is the definition of tall, rich, and handsome, yet he's never arrogant toward us. If he were my romantic rival, I'd actually think he was a great person. But since the day Maxwell returned, I've been on edge. He is exactly the type of man women adore. 1.8 meters tall, a full set of abs, and a gentle personality. He is a literal dream guy. I started to lose confidence in my relationship with Serafina. In just 5 days since his return, Maxwell has entered Serafina's office 8 times, and he's worn 7 different outfits in those 5 days. I admit that by the 8th time he walked into her office, I panicked. It started when I accidentally stumbled upon Maxwell's Finsta secret Weibo account, where he had posted a status last night. "I'll have her within a month." Had to be Serafina, right? I tried to stay calm, but obviously I failed. The petty war began. When Maxwell accidentally spilled coffee on Serafina, I accidentally spilled milk on her too. When Maxwell mistakenly included a flattering photo of himself in a report for her, I sent her a heavily filtered, high-definition headshot of myself. A week later, Serafina had me cornered in the passenger seat of her car, looking at me with utter confusion. "Leo, did I do something to upset you? Why are you acting like this? In the last 5 days, you've knocked over the cactus in my office once, spilled milk on me twice, tripped me 3 times, and sent the wrong documents 4 times. Leo, do you not love me anymore?" I bolted upright. "Then what is Maxwell doing in your office all day?" "He's reporting on work." "Reporting on work 4 or 5 times a day?" "Now that you mention it, Leo, you have a point," she said, looking thoughtful. He could have clearly said everything in one go, yet he keeps coming back to repeat himself. He also spilled coffee on me, made me trip, and sent the wrong files. Could it be? Serafina trailed off, looking like she'd just cracked a Da Vinci Code. Before I could finish my sentence, she jumped to her own conclusion, feeling quite brilliant for seeing through the truth. "He's trying to sabotage the company's efficiency. He must be planning to jump ship to a competitor. No, that won't do. He has too many client resources. I need to talk to HR immediately to monitor his every move. He cannot be allowed to take a single client with him." She kept muttering to herself, convinced she had uncovered a corporate conspiracy. I just sighed. The world of a straight-shooter girl is truly incomprehensible. Meanwhile, my colleagues had started an office betting pool on how long it would take Maxwell to conquer Serafina. "Whoa, so you all noticed Manager Maxwell has a thing for CEO Serafina?" Even the office cat noticed. "But doesn't she have a fiancé? Didn't the groom snatching fail last time? Look, she's not even wearing a ring." That's when it hit me. A ring. That evening, I planned to take Serafina shopping. I wanted to buy her a ring for her ring finger, a clear signal to the world that she was taken. Then, we'd find a way to go public, claiming we were together long before she joined the company, so it wouldn't count as a workplace romance. As the clock ticked toward the end of the shift, I texted her, "Let's go for a walk tonight." To my absolute shock, she rejected me. She told me she had a bit of work to finish and would have to stay late tonight, even adding a sad face emoji. She was always busy like that. "It's okay, we can go out another day," I replied. After clocking out, I rushed home to prepare a lavish dinner, thinking she could come over to eat after she finished. But I waited and waited. 8 p.m. passed. I didn't know if she was done, but I was afraid of disturbing her, so I didn't call. I continued waiting until 9 p.m., but she still hadn't messaged me back. For some reason, a sense of unease settled in my chest. I should trust her, I thought. I packed the dinner into insulated containers, threw on a jacket, and caught a cab straight to the office. Arriving at the building, I looked up. The lights on the 18th floor seemed to be out. Serafina had already left? Then where did she go? And why hadn't she replied to my texts? I pulled out my phone to call her, but it just gave me a busy signal. Just as I was about to leave, I glanced at the building one more time. Wait, there was a faint, dim light on the 18th floor. I turned around and sprinted back toward the entrance. I don't know why, but as I got closer to her office, I instinctively softened my footsteps. CEO Serafina, a little faster. That gentle, seductive voice belonged to Maxwell. Yeah, okay, came a muffled female voice, definitely Serafina. A little faster. Maxwell's voice sounded hurried, almost breathless. Good, it's almost done. I cover my mouth, unable to stop myself from trembling. It was her. That was Serafina's voice. Even if she turned into ashes, I would recognize it. They were hiding from me right there in the office. It was hard to imagine. The woman who called me babe and hugged me yesterday was telling another man she was almost done today. I'm not that easy to fool, I thought bitterly. I tried to steel myself, whispering internally, it's okay, God help me. Whatever I see, I won't panic. If I could let her go once, I can let her go a second time. Women, if the old one doesn't leave, the new one won't come. I should just learn from Maxwell and have 365 non-repeating girlfriend a year. I took a deep breath and immediately reached for the main switch, flipping on every single light in the office. I wanted to see exactly what they were doing. The lights flooded the room. I froze. Serafina and Maxwell also froze. What are you two doing crouching on the floor? I was the first to speak. Serafina reacted instantly. She bolted to the control panel, killed all the lights again, and dragged me down to a crouch beside her. I was utterly bewildered. Serafina pulled me closer to them and whispered, "Shoo, keep your voice down. CEO Lou just left. If he sees the office lights on, he'll definitely come back." Maxwell, still crouching on the floor, continued to tinker with a laptop placed on the ground. 10 more minutes, and the copying will be done. Just hold on a little longer. I whispered back, "What are you two doing?" No one answered. Serafina lifted her leg and tucked it under my hip. "Crouching is so exhausting. Can I sit on your leg?" Maxwell chuckled softly, his voice tinged with a bit of mock disdain. "Just bear with it, you two. Don't make a fool out of me." 10 minutes later, the computer screen displayed that the copying process was complete. Maxwell picked up the hard drive. "Thanks, CEO Serafina. It was a pleasure collaborating with you." Serafina smiled in return. "Hey, what are you two up to?" I couldn't suppress the curiosity burning inside me. "I'll tell you when we get home." "Be a good boy," Serafina said, patting my head. "They say the simplest business wars only require obtaining evidence of the opponent's violations to make them collapse beyond recovery." Over the past 2 months, Maxwell had pretended to join CEO Lou's faction to look for opportunities to catch Serafina making a mistake. Meanwhile, Serafina had played along hesitantly, even intentionally leaving openings. The moment the opponent let their guard down, they immediately sprang the trap. After months of digging the pit, CEO Lou finally fell in. Serafina and Maxwell helped the company recover billions in damages and completely overthrew CEO Lou's faction. As a lowly employee, I naturally didn't grasp the complexities of these high-level power struggles. Regardless, not long after, the company underwent a total transformation. As for Maxwell's Weibo post, it had nothing to do with Serafina. It was about his latest pursuit, a folk singer. Naturally, he succeeded once again. At the company's year-end gala, Serafina, in her newly appointed role as a member of the board of directors, was set to give a speech. I sat in the audience, looking up at her on stage, radiant in a long black professional dress that I had picked out myself. As I watched her, Serafina was looking down, tapping away on her phone. Soon enough, my phone buzzed twice. "Leo, I have a surprise for you." I replied with 3 question marks. Before I could send anything else, the host invited Serafina to the stage to speak. Hundreds of people in the audience fixed their eyes on her. The male colleagues quickly pulled out their phones to snap photos. Serafina adjusted her dress, her gaze sweeping through the crowd until it locked onto my position. "Thank you all for recognizing me and giving me the opportunity to stand on this stage. I won't bore you with official rhetoric. Today, I want to thank one person in particular. He is the reason I've been able to stay true to myself. He is my source of courage, my faith, and my light." Serafina said a lot after that, but I didn't hear a word of it. As every eye in the room turned toward me, all I could hear was the thundering of my own heart. Before the entire company, Serafina walked down from the stage and came right to my side. Liam, standing next to me, was rubbing his temples in disbelief. Maxwell was snapping photos nonstop to send to his new girlfriend. Even my strict manager was beaming like a proud aunt. The crowd pushed me toward her, their eyes full of excitement. When she reached me, she pulled out a pair of diamond rings. Leo, I've waited for this day for a very long time. From the first moment I met you 7 years ago until now, I have missed you every single day. Will you marry me? I felt like I couldn't breathe. Amidst the deafening cheers of the crowd, I finally spoke the words, I do. Epilogue. The first day as a fiancé. On our first official day as a betrothed couple, I pulled her close and asked anxiously, does this count as a workplace romance? The company forbids it. Won't it affect your career? You just got promoted, after all. Serafina gave me a soft kiss on the forehead. From now on, the wife makes the rules. Serafina often reminds me that because of her heart surgery, she can't engage in strenuous exercise. Every time I lie there contemplating my life with a terminal backache, I find myself wondering if her definition of strenuous exercise is the same as mine. But before I could even gather my thoughts, her lips fell on mine again. Hey, have mercy on your husband. I really don't have any strength left. The end. A sweet story from beginning to end. I hope everyone enjoys it. Thank you for reading to the very end.